Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. We'll give it a few more minutes. We still have people joining, so let's give it a few more minutes before we can get started. Ravi, can we get started?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Madam?
Yes, we can. Okay. Iniya Malai Vanakkam. Very happy to be meeting with you all on yet another program on emerging technologies. While we wait for more people to trickle in, let's actually get started. And there'll be this introduction about what PSG Tech Alumni Chennai Chapter Group does. A lot of activities. Even through something like actually COVID times, we were able to actually get on with this hybrid kind of activities where some of them were virtual. And finally, we had a physical meet in terms of actually our family get together in January. All those activities, I would request actually Ravi to play the video to give an encapsulation of what we have accomplished last year till date. Over to you, Ravi. in a nutshell, very active chapter, a lot of activities. But the fact is, all your participation is what makes the difference. And we come back to you with yet another important topic, a very relevant topic. People approach change in three different manners. Imagine change is like a train that comes into the station. We don't know where that train is going. We don't even know how the train is going to be. It could be like Vande Bharat Express, or it could be Shatabdi, or it could be the regular unreserved compartment. We don't know. And we don't know where it is going, the destination. But there is always a group of people who will be the first ones to get onto the train. Hey, let's go explore. Let's see what happens and everything. And the ரெண்டாவது group of people, they'll be waiting on the platform. What's it going to be? They'll talk amongst themselves. How is this going to impact us? What will change? But none of them will know the answers because the people on the platform still are not part of the destination. They don't know where it is going. Then there is a third small group of people who get in front of the train on the tracks and say, over my dead. And you know what happens? When the train actually goes, it leaves the station, it goes over there. When the train starts leaving, the people on the platform, the ones, the ரெட்டை மரம் மைண்டோட இருக்கிறவங்க இருக்காங்கல்ல, அவங்க டப்புன்னு உள்ள ஏறி குதிப்பாங்க. இப்படிதான் நம்ம சேஞ்ச் அப்ரோச் பண்றோம். ஆனா அந்த சேஞ்சை நம்ம அப்ரோச் பண்ண வேண்டிய தேவையை வேற மாதிரி ஆக்சுவலி நமக்கு கொடுக்கிறவர் தான் ரத்னா. The man doesn't need actually much of an introduction. அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஒரு 5 பேராக்கு அவரை பத்தி நான் பேசுறதுக்கு விரும்பல. He has done a lot of things in his life. And I believe the very fact that he started his career off from a manufacturing shop floor, moved into a service engineer, then a sales executive, and then got into the IT side of things, became a developer, did coding, and then actually moved into a DBA kind of a role, and then finally co-founded our technologies along with his classmates, and been there, done that. So he has metamorphosed through a variety of roles, and he understands probably change the best. As a part of his journey, he has been associated with some of the prestigious companies of the world, such as Intel, Fisher, okay, and Thamax, and now he's part of actually car technology, which he started off with 4 employees, and now has about 1,500 plus employees. Great achievement. And எல்லாமே பாத்தீங்கன்னா அவரோட அந்த background, the production, the manufacturing shop floor, he's used that knowledge to see how actually SAP can be delivered to the customers in the easiest manner possible. And through all this, I want to actually talk to you about 5 fun facts about Ratna to introduce you. Ratna's favorite movie is, yes, Pasha. Why? தலைவர் படம், ஸ்டைல் பிடிக்கும், அந்த டயலாக்ஸ் பிடிக்கும், எப்ப பார்த்தாலும் ஒரு ரெலவன்ஸ் இருக்கும். அப்படி போகும்போது அந்த டிவில எங்கேயாவது அந்த இடத்துல நின்னுச்சுன்னா நின்று பார்க்கக்கூடிய ஒரு படம். That's his favorite movie. And how does he unwind? Where does he want to get away? Kunu. Okay, why? The lush locales, not having too many people around. That probably makes a difference to Ratna. Okay, and he has played multiple roles in his career as well as in his personal life. Ratna is a son, Ratna is a brother, Ratna is a husband, father, and now for his team, he's the boss, as well as for his peers, he's there, and friend. And amongst all, the one that is really close to the true Ratna is what Mrs. Ratna sees. Okay, we should simultaneously congratulate her as well as actually express our condolences to her. Okay, because she gets to be the one person who gets to know the real Ratna. Okay, and for Ratna, one of the items is usually around this time, in the corporate world, திடீர்னு எல்லாம் ஒரே விமன் சென்ட்ரிக் ப்ரோக்ராம் எல்லாம் நடத்துவாங்க. Because Women's Day is around, right? Okay, but instead of doing a checkmark item, a lip service, Ratna is someone who has actually taken up diversity and inclusion, made it a part of his agenda, and has actually done hiring to promote visually impact people, women-centric hiring. He's been there, he has done that. And I believe that has earned him a place to talk about this in the relevance in this week, where everywhere else people are talking about just check mark items about Women's Day. Okay, with that, I'll hand it over to Ratna, who's going to be talking to you about emerging technologies and what are the challenges over here. Over to you, Ratna.
Thanks, Vijay Madam. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for taking time and attending this webinar. I hope if someone can confirm you're able to see my screen, the presentation.
We can.
Okay, and my audio is okay?
Yes, your audio is perfect.
Okay, thank you.
And in fact, you have a halo effect around your head, Ratna. It makes you look like actually you're like a god man or something like that, literally.
That's what Ravi told me. பின்னாடி ஒரு லைட் தெரியுது அப்படின்னு.
இல்ல அது வேணும்னே தான் அந்த எஃபெக்ட் வச்சிருக்கீங்கன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். ஓகே, அப்படி இப்ப எங்களை பார்த்து நீங்க ஆசீர்வாதம் கூட பண்ணலாம். You look like that.
If I switch it off, then I might not be visible. So அதனால let it stay. But ரொம்ப disturbance இருந்ததுன்னா we'll try and see if I can do something. But okay, see, thank you very much for having me as part of this webinar. First, a disclaimer. I'm not a tech guru or a tech king or anything like that, but I'm not an analyst to talk about the emerging technology trends. And I'm sure there are better persons than me in the audience who's listening, who understands tech more than me. But the idea was, I am a consumer of tech, and I'm sure most of you are. And I also read quite a lot on what is emerging on the tech space, and the only reason is to see how I can make money out of it. So there is no noble thought of societal impact using tech. In business la tech use pannalam, how do we make it better, stay ahead of the curve, stay ahead of competition. On the perspective la, I read a lot, and I thought I'll share something what I know. I've repurposed and used quite a lot from Google and other things. So if there is a repetition, you guys have to forgive me. So riding the wave of emerging technologies in 2023, I'll keep it very short because I don't want to bore you guys and give an academic part to it, but I'll keep it like 2 parts to this whole presentation, and I'll end it in 30 minutes. But then I can take questions. I can get very interactive on this space. Because that's the only thing that I do. There's not much interest in politics or religion, but tech is something that I like. And I also, during my college days, I had the opportunity to do computer science twice, once in 3rd semester and once in 4th semester. So இதெல்லாம் ஒரு background வச்சு I'm trying to see if I can share what I know and why you should be aware of it. So the first part of the presentation would be to tell the audience what is happening around, what is changing, why it is changing, and be aware of it, that part. And the second part will be the actual tech, right? So that's something that I'll talk. So let me go into the presentation. Okay, this is the agenda. It's kind of packed. I have lots of slides, lots I can talk, but if it is interactive and people can ask questions, it will be more interesting. If it is boring at any point in time, anyone can raise a hand and say, let's do something else. I'm okay with that also. But yeah, let's get started. So emerging technology, what it is, why you have to stay up to date, what is the impact of emerging technologies in all the industries, challenges that is there, and best practices to stay ahead, and some examples of corporations which has failed to innovate, career opportunities if there are youngsters, and how to prepare for the future, right? So I think I and Vijay never did a rehearsal or spoke about this embracing change, but she also mentioned about it. Of course, most of you know about this song. இதுல எனக்கு பிடிச்சது என்னன்னா, பாதையெல்லாம் மாறி வரும், பயணம் முடிந்து விடும், மாறுவதை புரிந்து கொண்டால் மயக்கம் தெளிந்து விடும் அப்படிங்கிற இந்த 4 வரிகள் இருக்கு இல்லையா? பாதையெல்லாம் மாறி வரும். I mean, there are things that is changing every day, every hour, every minute around us, and you should be aware of it. So the first part of my presentation is talking to you about the change that's happening in the tech world and how it's impacting the business, how business models are getting redefined, and what is that we should be doing. the more and more you get into the tech, you understand that, and it is for people who have crossed 50 or 60 and who want to hang their boots and retire. The problem is with the evolution of technology and healthcare and many things, you are not going to end your journey so easily, right? I mean, it's going to go for, 10 வருஷத்துல பாத்தீங்கன்னா 100 will be the new 60. That's the kind of tech advancement that's happening in the healthcare. And if you can hold on to your seat belt, you will be able to live for longer. Longevity is one of the important part of this whole thing. And longevity மட்டும் இருந்தா பத்தாது, we should be having happiness. So retirement அப்படிங்கிறதே, because when I started this webinar, people said நான் வந்து என் பேர பிள்ளையை கூப்பிட்டு வரேன் அப்படின்னாங்க. பேர பிள்ளைக்கு அப்புறம் வருவோம். But it is for you also. Even if at you're the late 50s, 60, there's still a scope that there's going to be longevity. And there are articles which are saying by 2035 or 2040, lots of healthcare related researches that's happening with quantum computing and the gene correction that can be made. There are at least 400 clinical trials and around 30-40 where you can make some corrections in your genome, and that's coming up and it's becoming an easier thing. So retirement அப்படின்னு யோசிக்க வேணாம் மக்கள் இருந்தாங்கன்னா. And one of the biggest cause for death among our professions like us is retirement. So don't think of retirement. Try and embrace change and see if you can adapt to the changing world. Okay, key emerging technologies. Of course, most of you in the computer science are aware of it. So this is the second part of the emerging tech that's happening right now, and how it's disrupting the business of starting from AI, artificial intelligence. So there is a varied audience here. So I just will try and keep it simple and not use more jargon so that you get bored. But I'll try and keep it simple. But if anyone wants to get deeper, we can do that as well. As I said, I have not used all the tech. I have probably used some. I have probably consumed some. I've probably used a few for business as well. As late as the chat GPT is something that we have embedded in our product, and we are trying to get something going on there as well. So starting from artificial intelligence, quantum computing, IoT, which is Internet of Things, and we'll talk about this in detail, extended reality, blockchain, 5G and beyond in terms of communication, metaverse, robotics and automation, edge computing, cybersecurity, generative AI, Industry 4.0, digital twin, crypto, and NFT. And there is more, but this is probably something that will last for another 30-40 years, and how it's going to change the world is what we are going to look at today. Right? But before going and talking about each of this technology and what it does, because we have a mix of people here, what I want to tell the idea of this whole session and to inform the audience here is not about adapting to this new technology. Don't get me wrong here. I'm not asking you to adapt to new technology from a consumer point. I mean, that's up to you. But it's rather a humble effort to direct the audience to be more aware and to change itself that's happening around, to understand the change that's happening around. That's the overall idea. So all these technology in isolation are jargons, and for people who have worked with computers, I'm sure they would be able to relate. But people who are not in computers, you have to understand all that you're going to do in future and you're currently doing, computers are involved, right? So magic happens when there is a convergence of all these technologies. For business to accelerate, thrive, and advance, all these tech has to work together. In isolation, it's not going to do anything, right? So if you look at, so the first part, let me talk what is happening, and then I'll go to the tech itself. But if you look at the development that's been happening in the last 100,000 years, it's been very local and very linear, very slow compared to what has happened in the last 50-60 years and what is going to happen in the next 30-40 years, right? In the last 40-50 years, it's moved from local plus linear to global plus exponential. And what it means is innovation is not happening only in the Bay Area. Innovation is not happening only in Germany. It's happening everywhere because people are connected. People have access to information, knowledge, and most of the knowledge is democratized, and you have access to everything that's available, and we are living the best of the times, I would say, compared to what has happened in the last 2000 or 3000 years. We are living the best of the times. We have abundance of everything. We have abundance of internet. We have abundance of the communications. We have quite a lot of information available. We have everything, lots of capital flowing in. I mean, if you've tracked the investment market in the last 2-3 years, the kind of funding that happened into the startup is in billions. Lots of unicorns happening in India. So with the tech that's available, there's a lot that you could do. Like 20-30 years back, if you have to be an entrepreneur, there are only 3-4 ways I know how people make money or entrepreneurs make money, right? One is they leverage on human capital, right? You run a services company, you leverage on them, or you leverage on blue workers to make something, sell it, and you make money, right? The second one is the capital intensive, putting up huge cement industry, or those days, or point where when you have huge capital, you can be an entrepreneur. But all that has changed. Now someone with a computer can become an entrepreneur. A laptop, internet connection, they can become an entrepreneur. So one is leveraging human capital, one is leveraging money itself, right? Like what our ex-secretary Natarajan does in terms of playing on the investment and stock market. So leveraging human capital, leveraging money, and the third is leveraging your what you have, what you call as a creator economy that's happening right now. And there's lots of gig work that's happening where everyone is a creator, right? There was Doordarshan and Rupa Vagini as channels. Now everyone has a YouTube channel. So the kind of content creation, the democratization of what is happening with the computer and with the mind power or the brain power that you have, you can create an IP and make a living out of it, or be an entrepreneur out of it, right? So I'm going to talk only about how do you make money with the computer, with the internet, with the technology that's available, with the wealth of information that's available. How do you make it big, right? So it's all about IP, it's all about content creation. So நாங்க படிச்சப்ப மேக்ஸ் நல்லா போடுறோம் அப்படிம்பாங்க அப்பா அம்மா. இப்போ பசங்கள்ட்ட வந்து கோடிங் கத்துக்கோன்னு சொல்றோம். So we have moved from maths to coding. So if you know coding, it's 50%, and if you can code and sell, then you can become an entrepreneur and start making money, right? So that's the world that we are living in, and this is all about the change that's happening. So இதெல்லாம் வந்து different technologies that I flashed a PPT earlier, where we are talking about sensors, networks, AI. 5 years back, artificial intelligence was still a theory. AI has been there like 30-40 years back itself. But what has made it possible is there are lots of mathematical models which was remaining as theoretical. It was very theoretical for quite some time, but now you are able to put that to use. That's the best part of AI, right? I mean, if you look at why it's possible is because the explosion of the cloud, distributed data that's available, the number of images that's being generated on a daily basis, all this makes it possible for a very good data set, and ensuring that we are able to practically use the mathematical models that's available, and all that is being put to use and solve a problem. So AI is quite a big thing that's happening, and the future industries will be like industries which have adopted AI, or industries which has gone out of business if they don't adopt AI. That's the kind of scenario that we are looking at, and it's changing the way business is being done. Robotics, 3D printing, VR and AR. I mean, there's quite a lot of use cases which we'll talk. Synthetic biology, blockchain, NFT. I mean, if people are not aware of any of these things, we can talk, but I'll explain what these things are. But we cannot go, each one is a book in itself, but we can talk at a high level of what it is and what the use case are. Now, why all this is come into play right now is because the computing power has gone very, very high, and the cost of computing has come down, right? That's the main reason why there are new business models that has evolved in the last 10, 15 years or 20 years. So if you look at the kind of business model that's available in India right now, and if you go to the top business model, there's quite a lot of marketplace, EV scooters, crypto exchanges, AI, conversational AI, online eyewear. So every industry that was brick and mortar is being disrupted. Byju's, for example, on the education side, has bought a Akash, which is like 20 years old, and there are many companies which is disrupting the existing industry. And you have to be aware of it. And if you are an entrepreneur, you should be looking at tech as an important investment. See, there was a point where people always said that technology is just an enabler. It's more important to concentrate on the core business. I would agree with it, but having seen what tech can do, it is important that you just embrace tech for the sake of tech itself, right? And you will be able to find use cases which can help you in terms of upping your revenue or optimizing your cost. You will find it as you go along, but you have to embrace it for the sake of embracing it. It's no more an enabler, it's a driver. It's the driver, because if you look at how Uber, Ola, these are all tech companies, right? I mean, these are all aggregation models, Swiggy, Zomato. These are not food companies. These are tech companies that's doing a service differently than what you would have thought. And that's what is happening in every industry, even the construction industry, retail, CPG, healthcare, entertainment industry. So there's quite a lot of disruption that's happening because of the use of all these technologies, and you're just at the tip of the iceberg. There's more that's going to come. And you have no idea how fast things are changing, but if you get deeper, you'll understand. And COVID also taught us. So one of the statistics says that, on an average, 5 to 7 hours a person spends on the internet or online, right? So that's the world that most of the people are spending. I'm not talking about the cons of being online or being present. I'm sure most of them are in Instagram and Facebook, but that's going to evolve. That's going to be more that is going to happen in terms of what tech can do. So, so just to talk about the exponentials and how it looks like. So if you're doing a business step by step and going in a linear path, like if you're renting your time and making money out of it, you make like $50 per hour. That's linear, right? You're just renting your time, you're consulting for someone and making a bill out of it. That's very linear. You're not going to get there. The future will be, it's not about haves and have-nots. It's going to be about haves and super haves. Who's having more and who's having less. It's not have and have-nots. Have-nots, it's going to go away. Poverty will go away. Of course, these are all data points with which I'm talking. It's not any prediction or any godman kind of a thing. But things are getting better in terms of the social side of things are getting better because of the tech infusion. But if you look at the exponential part of it, right, like 2 to the power of 8, 26x times around the earth. And if you go further, this is the curve. And if you are linear and if you really want to do something, do some intervention in terms of your profession, your skill set, there'll definitely be some stress, but there is an opportunity. Opportunity definitely brings in stress, but if you're able to sail through it, then you get to do more. Now, if you're not embracing change, of course, this is a classic example, but if you go on Google, there are like 50, 100 companies which has perished in the last 10, 15 years or 20 years because they did not embrace change. And for people, for first timers, Kodak once had a 28 billion market cap, 1996. And that's if you look at the dollar and how it has fared in the last 10, 15 years, the amount is bigger. And now it's all gone, 13 employees, right? And Kodak was the first to launch the digital camera. But someone inside said it's going to stop our business, or film printing will go away, so we'll not embrace it, and they perished. Whereas if you look at Insta, which is $100 billion valuation, right? I mean, it's just the expression of people showing off faces and things. They are valued at 100 billion. So what are you doing, right? I mean, the kind of tech that's available. So if you look at the last 50, 60 years, initially it was the hardware industry, like the IBMs, the Ciscos. They made it big. They were kind of setting up the infra. Then it was it was more about the network, mobility, connections, IoT of things. So the how we move the speed to 5G right now, which is more than 10 Gbps. But that was the second part of it. The third is software. Software is now ruling the world, and next is going to be the AR, VR, metaverse, XR. If these terminology are something new, I can explain, but I'm just telling you that the world is changing around you, right? So this is just a statistics of how many photos that has been taken in the last few years, and what was taken with the conservative camera and what digital has done. Most of you know about the Netflix and Blockbuster. If I'm rushing, message me, but just want to give an overview because each topic is big. Netflix and Blockbuster is a case study in itself. Blockbuster is a video rental company, the video cassette rental company, and Netflix, with the advent of internet, these group of guys, Red Hastings, I think, he went and met with Blockbuster CEO. He told that we should stream, videos, movies in the internet. And he said, it's going to kill my existing business. I'm not going to take this. So he founded Netflix, and you can see where Blockbuster is bankrupt and Netflix, all this in 10 years, 5 years time frame. Now, this is a huge scale that we are talking about, but your small business could also be disrupted. So it's not about only, okay, will not be affected. You will not be affected today, but you will be affected at some point in time. And how fast things, all these are US data, because I was not able to take the Indian data, but the point that we are trying to say is if companies are not changing, and if you look at the value in 2006, they were like billions, all 10 billion plus companies, and what has changed, right? So all these companies are declining. All these are replaced by the Amazons, the Azure's, the Google of the world, the Meta of the world, where Amazon is completely disrupting every line of business, everything, right? So all that is changing big time, and Amazon has grown like 1.5 trillion. Now, you don't have to have a huge money. All you need to know is understand this tech, have an idea. There are people who are ready to fund you, and you can run $1 billion company. Okay, it doesn't happen for everyone. It doesn't happen at the drop of the hat. It takes time, but the speed at which new companies are getting formed is humongous. I mean, we have like lots of unicorns in India itself, and the valuation is quite skyrocketing. Of course, in the last 6 months or 1 year, there's been some winter in terms of funding, but I think it'll all pick up. It's just some normalization that's happening, but it'll all pick up, and you could do quite a lot. Now, I'm also going to touch upon 3 things. So we spoke about why this is happening. These are 3 important things: how things are getting demonetized, and democratized, right? So if you look at what happened quite earlier in 20 years now, all these materials that you had earlier as a cloud procession is now available in your cell phone. That's a change that's happening. And lots of business are getting completely changed or disrupted. And these are the examples. Of course, everyone would know about it. It's a no-brainer. But that's what is happening right now. Democratization of the data itself. I mean, there are lots of online education portals that has come up, which will probably replace all the schools and colleges over a period of time. There are banks without any physical location in India that's happening as we speak, where it's completely available on the internet. So internet first banks are available, internet first healthcare industries are available, internet first cloud kitchens are available. So I mean, of course, India has a huge plan on what it's trying to do, and it's one of the biggest sector going forward in terms of how it's embracing tech. And it's got its own tech stack itself, the SaaS stack or the India stack, where the payments can happen, social reselling platforms that has emerged, lots of use cases in the capital loan marketplaces, in the insurance sector, online marketplace for drugs, right? I mean, PharmEC, MedLife, NetMeds, so many companies, fantasy sports platform, gaming, used car platforms, right? All these are happening in front of us in the last 15, 20 years. It's not like long ago, but it's happening. But the rate at which these industries are closing down is also high, but it will all normalize, and this will be the new norm, right? So as I said, the computing power that's become very cheaper, right? I mean, I'm not a great fan of hardware or anything, but if you really look at this, 1958, there were only, the computing power is a function of many things. The one key important thing is the transistor. The other thing is the clock speed, the speed at which it can do, and then the bus or the length between how it could transform the information. So these are three things. But in terms of the transistors, if you look at it currently, I mean, what you could do like in 50s and 60s is 2 transistors in one CPU, but now you can, because of the nanotech, you can have more than 7 billion transistors in one CPU, right? That's huge, which means it's become cheaper and it's become faster in terms of how you can compute. And that's why lots of mathematical models which stayed as an academic part, like the linear regression, all that you would have read in your college days and school days, we are able to put it to good use, right? That's the important aspect of, even 5 years back, I'm part of Chennai, the Chennai Angels, and I've seen lots of AI-based companies which were a distant dream 5 years back, but now they are making 100 million plus in terms of ARR. So lots of mathematical models which were which stayed in books, we were able to put to use, like the regression model, the linear discriminant analysis. So there are lots of AML models. Don't want to sound academic there, but deep neural networks and things like that, all that are being put to use because of cheap computing, right? And storage, you can do it at $0 right now. You don't even get to pay, right? And this is something that you see on how storage has changed over a period of time. And law of accelerating returns compared to 1900, from electromechanical to relay, vacuum tube to transistor, and what has happened in the last 50 years. So the computing cost is going to go down and down, but what you can get done with is quite high, right? So what we are trying to say is, the new gen. So we are all. I moved from production engineering to computer science, and embraced computer science and running a tech company right now. So I'm a digital migrant, if you can call. But there are digital natives, kids who are born like 10 years back or 15 years back. They are digital natives, and they are used to living in this digital world. And they can play games, they can buy whatever they want in the game, and then they can keep moving. So what you're trying to see is there is a huge global population. It's not going to be Population is not going to be based on religion, caste, color, creed anymore. It's about the online communities and like-minded people trying to innovate and do more. And whatever was not available, like when we grew up, there were 2 channels. I gave you an example, right? But now there are hundreds of channels. So there's quite a lot of things available in abundance, and it increases the productivity. There's more time available. Good people, I mean, people who want to make it big are trying to use it in a productive way in the online world. And if you still want to stay in WhatsApp and Insta, that's one part of it. But there's quite a lot of innovation that can come out, because you cannot stay in this social media for a long time. And there will be lots of innovation, new ways of doing things. People will get bored, and it will only create lots of innovation, the positive side of tech, right? So what will this 4+ billion new minds do? They will create, discover, consume, TikTok, YouTube channels, invent, desire, creation, things like that, new ways of doing business, right? And also we see an explosion of data because of satellites, drones, autonomous car, AR glasses. Each one is a topic by itself, but just trying to say where we are. The important aspect or the important intervention is on the healthy gene, where you can so do some alteration in terms of how your gene therapy is. 20 are already approved and 40 trials ongoing. So that's why I mentioned you might live longer. You might think you want to quit by 50, but you might live till 100. So you better be occupied in terms of what you're trying to do. So the longevity is going to increase. And these are few examples of what is happening on the tech world in terms of drone delivery, in terms of Amazon Prime drone deliveries, which is approved. An autonomous car, driverless car that's been driven in simulation in the real world. Flying cars, it's happening. And lots of improvement in terms of robotics and things like that. And of course, ChatGPT is one example. In the last 1 or 2 months, what it can do and the kind of questions you can ask. So important thing is to reinvent your business model. One of the things is Apollo hospitals during the COVID time, they converted all the star hotels into hospitals. They took the healthcare into hospitals, and no one would have even thought that the aircraft industry or airline industry can be disrupted by Zoom. So if Southwest was looking at Delta as a competition, the competition came from the technology side, right? That's a 130 billion enterprise now in terms of valuation. Zoom. So Zoom is complete. You don't have to go on site. You don't have to meet. You don't have to be physically present. Of course, the social part and other things, but you can still do business. That's how disruptions are happening. You never know where it's coming from. And there are lots of use cases for AR, VR in terms of what you could do. Walmart recently bought a startup where you can make an avatar of yourself, fit in all the dresses and see how you are looking, and then do a purchase, right? So those are the lots of use cases that's evolving. Now, if you thought it's about connecting different things, please hold your bell, because there's already at least 10-15 companies which are trying to connect the brain and download your memory to the cloud. That's already happening. So researchers designed right-sized brain implants that can communicate with each other in 10 Mbps. So that's happening right now. There was a person who was blind, whose vision was restored because of the tech that we have, and there's a neural link. So if you've been thinking it's about connectivity of things, it has happened in the pigs, but it's going to happen in the humans as well, where you could have your broadband directly connected to the brain, and you can look like a smart person who's able to answer any question. So that's happening, guys. So that is also happening. It's not all movies, but it's happening, right? And what has this led to in terms of the solar energy? I mean, the energy consumption has gone up, but the tech has enabled that energy consumption, more battery life, more people have access to electricity. Poverty has come down, and these are statistics, but I'm not going into that one. I'll pause here and see if there are any questions before I go to the next part of my slide. Okay, I have another 10 minutes and I will stop here after my 10th minute. But this is about what I'm going to show is, I don't know how much interesting this will be, but slightly try and see if I can cover a little bit on the emerging trends itself, right? So AI, we spoke about it. There's quite a lot of use cases in terms of what AI can do. And as I mentioned, if you're not embracing it, even if you're like a 5 crore company or a 10 crore company, you have to embrace it. You have to look at it. If you're not, like, the future is going to be about robots, about AI. If you're someone who's going to create a book or write a book, the author might be someone, some AI model that's working with you, right? So that's the kind of evolution that's happening. Quantum computing, of course, I read a lot about it, but that image sums it up. Even if I read it like 10 times, I didn't understand. But the important aspect about quantum computing is it's a new way of computing. It is not about the CPU becoming a GPU and GPU becoming a quantum. Quantum is completely a new way of increasing your computing power based on quantum mechanics and quantum physics, all that stuff. But important aspect of the analogy that I would say is, if you put 100 candles together, that doesn't make a bulb, right? I mean, both gives light, but that doesn't make a bulb. That's how quantum is. It's completely different thing. So all applications, all that the climate predictions, whether tsunami is going to hit or not, which requires lots of data to be consumed and given a theory. That's what quantum computing is about. And Google, Meta, Amazon, Azure, everyone is big time investing on that one, and that's going to become a reality. IoT, we mentioned about it. There are 20 billion connected devices and more than 1 trillion sensors, but in 2030, we are looking at 500 billion connected devices. So meaning everything that in your house, including your refrigerator, washing machine, everything can talk to each other and emanate data and do lots in terms of smart homes, smart cities. So the other day I was trying to get some, trying to convert my home into smart home and trying to look at the devices. that investment itself was around 50 lakhs, but that's going to come down. But the idea is everything is good, getting smarter than what you thought, the things around you, right? So that's about IoT. Extended reality, there's lots of use cases right now in terms of training. So if you wanted to train someone in oil and gas industry or a mine, you could basically create that environment and have that training done without it being actually at that part of it. So that's the kind of use cases that's emerging, and lots of companies doing it. If there is more interest or specific area that you're interested in, do email me and we can talk more about it. Blockchain, I'm sure you would have heard about the cryptocurrency and things like that, but the tech is quite good in terms of distributed computing, where you cannot, it's a decentralized, right? I mean, it's not a centralized one, it's a decentralized, and you can have data stored that cannot be copied, or it cannot be duplicated, or it cannot be the originality can be maintained. So blockchain gave birth to NFT, non-fungible token, and where you can have a digital way of preserving things, like how you preserve physical, the originality is maintained, right? So there's quite a lot of use cases there as well. 5G and beyond, we spoke about it. I mean, we are 2030, we are talking about 6G, but now currently 5G is happening, which means the movies that took like 10 minutes to download will be downloaded like this. That's for the entertainment industry. But in terms of the devices that can talk to each other, there's quite a lot of use cases that's evolving there. Metaverse, again, this is becoming huge. This is again a convergence of all tech, right? Metaverse is like you can have a digital twin of yourself. So I can be like present here, but in the meta world, I can be doing business with someone. And there are use cases where people have started buying virtual lands. Forget the physical land, virtual land. People have started buying, and they're spending time there. So metaverse is emerging field, and it's a mix of AR, XR, VR, all these good things. But the idea is you can have a replica of yourself, and that replica can do something else, and while you are doing something else. So that's happening right now. Robotics and automation, quite an old subject, but the rate at which robots are being made, the prediction is that, like a cell phone, you might have a robot sitting with you as a virtual assistant or something like that as we go along. And there's quite a lot of use cases in the construction industry, in manufacturing industry, in terms of handling the shop floor, warehouses, and things like that. Edge computing, it's all about the smart grids and how other than the computing part, how the small or the equipments that's around you with the low frequency can emit data and you can make sense out of it. That's edge computing. Cybersecurity, as the name says, it's about with lots of explosion of this data, how do we have it secured? And there's quite a lot that you can do there. ChatGPT, again, what internet did to us in the 1990s. ChatGPT is the face of AI. So you're actually seeing an AI in work, which is using a GPT, which is a generative prediction text language. So you have a set of data that you can put, and you can. It is very cognitive in nature, meaning you can ask a contextual set of questions and it can respond. So it is not a Google search by way of indexing, but more than that, it understands, it trains itself, and it can be something of an assistant to you. So there's lots of use cases evolving there. Industry 4.0, of course, in our own place, TVS everywhere, people are embracing it big time. Lots of industries which is completely connected, and crypto. I mean, once you're in the meta world and things like that, there is a new currency that will emerge. It will not be specific to industry, but it will be an online currency, and people can exchange things, buy goods. That's where crypto is going. NFT, we spoke about it earlier. So there's quite a lot of use cases that's evolving in the healthcare, finance, education, manufacturing, retail, transportation, and I can keep talking about it. But these are my take in terms of what is happening. But yeah, I think I'll stop there. But if there are people who are like, I mean, there are lots of career opportunities for youngsters on the emerging field. It's not like computers is overcrowded. If you are a domain expert in CPG, retail, healthcare, pharma, manufacturing, oil and gas, chemical, petrochemical, And if you combine that with a bit of computer knowledge, then you can make a huge career out of it, because all industries are moving towards digital transformation. And as we speak, there are many companies who are doing it in lots of ways. So these are the career opportunities for youngsters, and of course for I mean, there's quite a lot, but we can do one more session if there's an interest, or I can do a one-on-one session if people are interested. And for the youngsters who are watching, stay hungry for knowledge, skill, productize yourself, play the long game, right? I mean, compounding is the eighth wonder. So all the returns in life, be it wealth, relationship, or knowledge, come from compounding interest. So stay invested. Don't look at short term. Play long term games. And with that, I'll stop here, and I can take any questions. Just wanted to stick to 1 hour and not bore you guys. We'll stop here, guys. If there are any questions, I can take. Thank you for patiently listening. I mean, if you want to ask some questions, you can type it in the chat or the Q&A session. Question is there. You can do there as well. Okay, there's a question from Ratnakumar. How does ChatGPT help in HR function? I mean, HR, of course, right from recruitment till retirement, there are lots of functions. One of the use cases that I could imagine is if you have a set of 100 profiles or 50 profiles, and you want to match it with a job description that you have. Currently, it can become very contextual and give you contextual answers in terms of how you can do it. So there are 4 models available in ChatGPT, if I understand. There is the expensive model is DaVinci model, and then there are 3 more models that's available, and it's charged at 0.002 cents per token. So if you have a set of huge database, you could import that model, and you can ask contextual questions in terms of driving better use cases for your audience. So it can be used in recruitment, it can be used in employee engagement, it can be used in skill enhancements. There's quite a lot that you can think of, Vinod. But yeah, I'll leave it there. But see, the biggest problem these days is there are solutions everywhere. The biggest issue that I see is people are not able to define their problem. Problem statement definition is the biggest problem, the latent need of it. But we can talk about it also, Vinod. But thanks for attending the webinar. Shankar says, excellent presentation, nicely done, but need to have more time. Shankar, the point is the audience were mixed, right? I mean, you had someone who just graduated from college, and you had someone, and so I was not sure what people would like. So hence I had to really rush it and keep it at a high level and not going into the depth, but we could always do a deep dive on one of the tech space. As I said, I am not an analyst. I am not a tech guru, but I read technology to see how I can use it in business and for some career counseling. These are 2 things why I am relevant on the tech space. The only biggest reason is to see how we can make business out of it. Prasanna says, thanks for the insights, Ratna. How could we fine-tune our education system to help children to be updated about tech without overwhelming them? I mean, see, one of the things that the academicians should look at is and the Sindhu Bharavi படத்துல வர மாதிரி தான். I'm forgetting the name. So சிவகுமார் வந்து ஒரு மாதிரி கர்நாடிக் மியூசிக்ல பாடுறது அது மக்களுக்கு புரியாது. அப்புறம் இவங்க ஒரு பாட்டு பாடுவாங்க which people understand, right? So it's very difficult until you have a complete understanding and have used it and have felt it, and then if you're able to narrate it and take it to the students in a easily understandable fashion, because NFT quantum computing, how many ever times you read it and understand, it's still theoretical, right? So it's going to be a big challenge. But then there are lots of use cases and lots of understanding. There has to be an effort made by the teachers, by the professors to understand it, feel it, connect with it, and then dissipate that knowledge. Of course, there is quite a lot of knowledge that's available in the internet, and people believe that they know everything because Google is there. But to really make them understand and be someone who can make some business out of it, it takes some time. One of the things is for people to stay updated, Prasanna, and find innovative ways of delivering it. I think that's one way that we could look at it. But yeah, there's quite a lot of work that we need to do in terms of how we bridge the gap between the students coming out of college and the business that we live in. Yeah, that would be my take, Prasanna. Right, guys, thanks for patiently listening to me. Really appreciate your time. As I said, I didn't want to drag it for 2-3 hours, wanted to keep it crisp, but if there are any more questions, we could talk. And thanks everyone for subscribing to PhD Alumni Chennai chapter. We always are trying to do something new, and we will come up with more programs. And thanks for listening. And if there are any more questions, I can take. Otherwise, oh, there are more questions. Thanks for the insights, Ratna. How could we fine-tune our education? That's Prasanna. Sita Krishnakumar. AI, is it really being adopted in small companies? How much of data is really required to train and apply a model without using synthetic data? I mean, it will get to the smaller companies. As I said, internet, when it was launched and the adoption of that, and ChatGPT, which is the face of AI, that's more text-based, but there are more facial based, there are video recognition, AML models. And what happened like 5 years back, where you have to really work on a model. Now Azure and the GCP, the hypercloud, or giving you a model, all that you have to give us data. Data set is a problem, but you can still mimic some synthetic data, as you said. But data part is still a problem, but there's quite a lot that's happening on the data science in terms of getting the right set of data. But that's only a smaller issue in the whole scheme of things. There are SMEs that are trying to use AML in terms of quality test, in terms of optical recognition. There are companies which are using it and trying to stay ahead of curve. That is happening, Sita Krishnakumar. Deenadayalan sir, why only few tech giants are getting the max client customers? Why no competition at tech? No, there are lots of startup companies. I can share you some information. Just give me a second. Let me share you some. Yeah, these are the, I don't know if, is my screen visible?
No, it's not visible.
Give me a second. Okay, so this is to Deenadayalan sir. It's not only the big companies and all these, there are, if you guys are able to see the screen. So if you look at the kind of business model that has evolved in the last 1 year or so, and what these companies have made out of this tech, right? This huge set of companies that has emerged and which are funded and which are billion-dollar valuation. Just browsing through the set of companies that are available. So it is not the huge companies at all. GCP, Google Cloud Platform, Azure, AWS. As I said, there is quite a lot, and what you had to do 5 years back in terms of having 10 people, 15 people create an AI model. If you have a data set, there are autonomous models where they could predict which model is suitable for you to determine the problem statement that you have. That's a kind of advancement that has happened. So it's no more like it's available only to the big companies. Even the smaller companies are using it. But one important thing is the mindset of the SME segment that where they try and run between the month to month, where they have to take care of people and they don't spend quite a lot. my my ask to the young entrepreneurs or small time companies, they have to invest on tech. And tech is not about putting a website, right? I mean, it's more than that. It's not a website and a commerce platform. That's not, it's not on the marketing side alone or on the selling side alone. Even on the operation side, tech can be embraced. I'll go to the next question. Karthika, an awesome session. Thank you, Karthika. Kadir, do you think there would be a profession solely focusing on AI prompting in the future? Do you think there would be a profession solely focusing on AI prompting in the future? I'm not sure, Kadir, if I'm able to understand your question, but there could be, again, we interview lots of guys who say that they have AI ML experience, but it's just at the certification level. So until you understand the business, understand the pain area, what is the problem statement, what is exactly that you're going to change, what is the needle that you're going to move in terms of your cost optimization or your revenue part, the model itself is not is very theoretical. But the point is, stay connected with tech. Dina Dalan sir, what kind of skill need to be augmented for current youngsters? I mean, whatever I spoke about, there's quite a lot of certification that's available. You can pick up one area. Like when I graduated, I was a production engineer and I was able to move to computers. That is not there anymore. You really want to stick to computers, stick to computers. You really want to get into cybersecurity, stick to that. So it is no more a generalist world. It is becoming more specific. So you want to become good at AML, you do courses on that one, AR, VR, XR. Again, there are lots of technology that has dropped down also, which came up with lots of promise in the last 10 years. Like, the virtual reality, the Samsung Oculus wearables, all these wearables predicted lots of things, but all that faded away. So there is a possibility that 30-40% of what I'm talking might go away, but there is a very good chance there are only new things that are going to emerge, and we have to be aware of it. Again, Dina sir, we need to look at the person, what it is, but stay focused. I mean, something on the UI side, something on the database side, something on the new tech side. That's a kind of certification and upskilling that people should be doing, and look for opportunities in the startups where they could hone it more. Thank you for the informative, Chilapa. Thank you for the informative. 1 hour went very quick. Can we get the presentation? Reiterate the points. Sure, I can share it. Thank you very much. Sundaram sir, I feel all the technology in some form or a marketing tool for the existing core industry. So equal importance needs to be given in that area. Very short and crisp. Thanks so far for it. No, I think it's 1 hour, sir. It's not very short and crisp. But sir, it's not a marketing tool. Listen, you have to have a mind reset that it's not marketing. It is not like unique value proposition that we are using the new tech. We are solving real-time problems. There are lots of use cases that I can talk about where real-time problems are getting solved. There might be a few fads here and there, like ChatGPT. If you go and do a search, you would have a fake kind of a ChatGPT, many things where you have to pay money and buy it. And all that will stay. But I think we'll have to stay positive, right? And look at technology in a positive way and how it can have a positive impact. So that's a look that we have to have. Sharani Priya, good presentation covering all of them. Why AI could not detect the earthquake and save lives in Turkey? I'm curious to know the future of AI for climate change or to save the planet. I think that's still evolving. As I said, one of the biggest use case in terms of quantum computing is predicting the climate change, where a tsunami would come or an earthquake could happen. So all that is happening, Charlie. We're not far away from where we could predict on what is going to happen. So, I mean, I wish we could do something, but it is happening in terms of what we are trying to do. Also, the quantum computing is there for last 2 decades, I think. Can we foresee that more practical use cases in the near future? There are a few startup companies which have come, which are offering a SaaS offering in terms of the use cases that you want to run in the quantum computing. Again, quantum computing, AI, ML, all this has been there for 40, 50 years. There's nothing new. But now we are seeing that being put to practical use cases, and there are companies evolving, and there are companies which are able to solve problems in terms of using that. So you're right, it's been there for quite some time, but it is all happening, and we are seeing quite a lot of use cases in the healthcare, in CPG retail, in supply chain, in additive manufacturing, in IoT 4.0. So there's quite a lot happening now. Thank you, Ratna. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. Thanks for putting up with me. Nandri, Vanakkam. Bye-bye. Take care. Karthi, we can end it, Karthi?
Sir, நீங்களே end பண்ணிடலாம்.
Okay.